Hey guys, what's up? This is What the Tech, and this is Samsung's newest phone, the Galaxy A8s. This is one of Samsung's newest smartphones, and it's pretty much destined to be exclusively for the China market. The Galaxy A series is a traditionally unremarkable lineup. It doesn't really sport anything new most of the time, and it's mostly used by leakers and for rumor channels to see what the new S phone may have down the road. But obviously, we're here not to talk about the specs of this phone or how well it'll sell. Instead, we're here to talk about that display. All right, let's check it out. So not too long ago, Samsung actually teased us by showing different types of infinity displays that Samsung would be using moving forward in order to push display technology. And one of the most interesting displays they showed off from the bunch was the Infinity O display, because there were rumors swirling at that time, and now pretty much confirmed today, that the next generation of S and Note series of phones are going to have this O-type display. Especially given the fact that under-the-screen technology is still a year or two away. This is Samsung's bridge in order to fill the gap between a bezeled phone to a non-bezel-less phone. This is their notch. And so comes today, the Samsung Galaxy A8s. I don't want to talk about the specs, but I'll flash them either way in case you're curious. Instead, in this video, we're talking about what this means for Samsung, whether or not this was a good decision on their part, and how they can make this work. So off the bat, this begins the abrupt transition from mocking Apple and other companies for doing cutouts in their displays. I'm sure most of you guys know that Samsung was very unashamed in how they made fun of others, especially in their ingenious ads, like this one. Well, now they're doing essentially the same thing that other companies were doing, though, the same thing that they made fun of others for doing. Instead of cutting off the top middle part of the screen, producing a notch, and saving some UI elements in the top corners, Samsung took an unapologetic take on it and just punched a hole in the upper left corner. And of course, to be fair, phones like the iPhone 10, all the way up to the OnePlus 6T, their notches are polarizing to the entire community. Some people like them, some people don't like them. And of course with this, it's gonna have the same effect. Some people will like it, some people won't. And you can be certain that Samsung would do advertisements that tries to hide it as best as possible. In some leaked shots, it looks pretty obtrusive already. And in the ad, you can see that the hole is visibly smaller than what it should be. Of course, I could see this being an improvement over the larger cutouts that exist today, but that raises the question, was this the right solution? So whether or not this was a good decision is pretty subjective depending on who you are. But for me, I have the feeling that this is a bad decision on Samsung's part. For the last couple of years, Samsung has actually stuck its flag inadvertently in a hill that it probably did not want to be in, thanks to their marketing department. We've all seen it. We've seen the ads of the guy with the notch waiting in the iPhone store, and we saw how badly Samsung made fun of Apple for having that cutout. But they also attack other Android OEMs for having cutouts in their phone as well, for following Apple's lead. But because so many device manufacturers followed Apple's lead on this, there became a common design language. Developers can follow an overall rule that keeps it consistent across devices. It used to be that everyone follows 16:9, but now almost everyone has notches. So generally, because of all the cutouts that exist on phones today and just how many there are, you have this situation where most apps nowadays omit any information in the upper middle corner and put UI elements in the corners or digital buttons, because chances are, if you just move the app over from device to device, we'll keep those same regions untouched. But now, because Samsung is the lone one out with their new hole punch design, you now have to update third-party apps in order to meet that new display. And we've seen this pan out already. Some iPhone 10 owners were really pissed off that Apple's own native apps weren't supported at launch for the notch. And understandably so. They had time to do this. They knew it was coming. And so now you place app developers in this position where they have to decide if they want to go back and reconfigure this app in order to make it match, or better yet, to accommodate the new hole punch display that Samsung phones may have moving forward. Unfortunately, I'm predicting that this transition may take a bit of time, especially for third-party app developers, because we have to consider their perspective. What's the point of changing the app for a small minority of people? So the thing that sucks about this is, unfortunately, there's going to be a sizable amount of users out there that are going to have a subpar experience with black bars flanking the upper and bottom parts of their phone in order to scale the image properly. And if the Galaxy S10 ends up adopting a punch hole system, as we suspect, it's more likely to be this pill shape in order to fit more stuff and, sensors and cameras, and developers will have to adapt to a wide range of punch holes, punch pills, or even punch triangles, because why not? Okay, so I'm gonna admit, that was a pretty negative take on this whole Samsung punch hole display kind of thing, or the Infinity O display. But I'll give some ground here because we're gonna talk about how Samsung could actually make this work. But this is gonna require some serious commitment from Samsung's part, and it might be something they may not be able to deliver on. But we have some good signs that they might be able to. So as I mentioned earlier, one of the main gripes of the iPhone 10 at launch was some apps didn't look right on it, and you gotta wonder, you own these apps, you made these phones. You should have been able to see it ahead of time that your app looks pretty crummy on your phone. Well, that's what's important about Samsung's One UI and how they have to utilize it and leverage it pretty hard. Samsung is pretty dedicated to changing its software shortcomings with this new custom Android interface, and it will be the successor to TouchWiz. I'm pretty sure if Samsung wants to capture the best experience at launch, they're gonna have to have all their native stock apps scaled properly to accommodate for this cutout. And that's where One UI comes in yet again. As we saw from the developer conference, they talked about how they're moving a lot of the interactions down from the upper portion to the bottom part of the display in order to artfully play around with it. If Samsung's own messaging and calendar apps were superior in forms of accommodating that cutout, there's a good chance you may consider using it over Google's options. And this needs to be supported for every single one of Samsung's own applications at launch, or else an inconsistency will, unfortunately, be unfairly mocked online. And if I was Samsung, I'd like to avoid that. Well, that's it guys. Thanks for watching What to Tech. And if you like what you saw, don't forget to give a thumbs up down below. And go ahead and share in the comments, what do you guys think about Samsung's punch hole design? I, for one, an intellectual, have a 3-ring hole puncher, meaning I can make 3 Galaxy A8s's in about 1/3 the time, as Samsung does. So, food for thought. Alright, don't forget to subscribe to see more things like this. See you next time. Peace. Oh, and there's no headphone jack in the Galaxy A8s, so that means its days are numbered.